November 21st, 2024 meeting of the West Sacramento Area Flood Control Agency. We start our meeting today with, we had a closed session before the regular session, so I'll have a report out on the closed session.
Thank you. The board met in closed session on two items listed on the closed session agenda. On the first item, the board authorized a pre-condemnation offer on a parcel of land located at 4250 West Capitol Avenue for acquisition of a utility easement. On the second item, the board authorized staff and council to initiate litigation to clear fee title to a property located along the Southport Project levee. There were no other reportable actions.
Thank you. Second item is presentation by the public on matters that are not on the agenda today. Is there anyone available, anyone who would like to speak at this time? And hearing none, or seeing none, we will move on to the monthly and year-to-date revenue and expense report.
Good morning, members of the board. I'll be reporting out on the revenue and expenses for the month of September 2024. I apologize, my admin error on the cover sheet of the monthly and year-to-date expenses. In Fund 870, the beginning balance was approximately $8.1 million. The fund received $3,800 from special tax assessments, and expenses were $35,000. Majority of that was going toward paying annual membership dues. And the ending cash position for Fund 870 was $8.07 million. The beginning balance for Fund 871 was $12.15 million. The agency received approximately $43,000, and I believe that was to offset a negative entry back in July, so we're equal on that now. And expenses were a little shy of $161,000. Majority of that was on Sac River North. And the ending position for Fund 871 was approximately $12.03 million. Year-to-date cash position for the three funds, 870, 871, and the State Advance Fund 2579919. The position was at $45.1 million at the end of September. And as of November 12th, the position was at $45.28 million. So finance is still in the process of closing out fiscal year 23-24, and we do expect that to complete very soon. I know our assessment administration, Wildan, they sent out handbills recently, so they're collecting payments for that. So that should close out soon. The Corps, they did receive funding appropriation for fiscal year 24 in June, and that was approximately about $52.7 million. And so we do anticipate a 5% cash request in the amount of $2.6 million. And I believe we're going to be drawing down from our State Advance Fund 2579919 and the Cities in Lieu Fee Fund. Right now, staff is currently working on RF&P and working kind packages 16 and 17 for reimbursement for RF&P and working kind credit for core. And with that, I have nothing else to report. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Okay, any questions? Thank you. We continue on. Our consent agenda, 4 items today, 2 contract amendments, consideration to continue our work with the Regional Flood Management Program Administration, and minutes from our September 19th, 2024 meeting. We did not have a meeting in October, I'll remind everyone. So with that, if there's any questions on the consent agenda, or I'll consider a motion to approve.
I'll move the consent agenda.
And I will second that motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No one opposed. Motion carries. On to our regular agenda, the WSAFCA project update report.
Thank you, Chair Ramos and members of the board. I'm going to go over just a few of the items that's in your packet. On the Southport project, River Partners completed the replantings in the mitigation area. So hopefully we'll have better performance outcomes in the future for the project. And then this week, they're removing the watering system, the pumps, and hopefully the fish screens as well. as the river is expected to rise by Sunday. I think it's supposed to get up to around 16 feet or so. So just in time to get that stuff out of there. As on to the federal project, I'm just going to remind the board what we've contributed to the project thus far, with WSAFCA in particular. So to date, actually the non-federal sponsor was WSAFCA and the state. So to date, we've provided to meet the 5% cash requests from the Corps, just a little over $6 million. Total credit submitted to the Corps to date, including Southport. This is Southport's, the 221 credit, is a little over 186 million. The LERDs for the federal project is only about 237,000. That's going to increase significantly in the coming years, especially along Sac River North and other reaches of the project. And that LERDs was really only for Weibel South and Weibel North. And then work-in-kind credit, which includes the design of Weibel North and South and some of the PED pre-construction engineering and design work that we did on Sac River North and continue to do on Sac River North. We've submitted just over $6.3 million in work-in-kind credit. For the Weibel South, just wanted to talk a minute about the emergency repair work that's going on out there. They began the week of October 28. They excavated what they call a keyway, which is like a trench on the land side of the levee. And then following that keyway, they go through and place material in lifts to build a landside berm. When this emergency repair project's done, that berm's going to be full levee height, unlike what you see like out at Southport, where the berm is maybe 5 or 6 feet above grade. This one's going all the way to the top, just to ensure that that section of levee will perform if we get water in the bypass this year. Progress is being made with the exception of today and the coming days with all this rain. So they've buttoned it up in preparation for the rain. And as of Tuesday of this week, they're on track to complete the work in the first week of December. We'll report out to the board independent of these meetings once that project's complete, as well as providing a newsletter for the city on when that work gets completed. The permanent repair will take place next construction season and will likely incorporate some, if not all, of the emergency repair work that's being done now.
Greg, is that work considered separate from our project? Or is it going to be an add-on, or?
Yes, so the work is being performed by the contractor that did the Weibel South project, and it is a contract modification for the Weibel South project.
Okay.
So it's being fully cost-shared, 65-35 as part of the federal project.
Okay.
And it's still coming in, keep fingers crossed, still coming in under the original budget for that section. On Sac River North, because of all the emergency repair work, our project team is pretty focused on getting this emergency repair work done. So there's not a lot of effort being performed right now for the design for Sac River North. They're kind of creeping along. As of right now, it's bumped the 60% design deliverable for contract 1S by about a month. That's likely going to slip a little bit more, but we anticipate getting re-engaged with the Corps pretty vigorously on that design after the first of the year. And now that the board has approved the contract extension for Nino and Moore, that sets us up to be able to assist the Corps. We anticipate them making a request of WSAFCA to do some additional environmental work along Sac River North. There's about 50,000 or so left on that contract, so we haven't received the full scope request from the Corps. So we'll be able to do the work as the board has approved this contract extension unless additional funds are needed, in which case we'll return to the board, ask for an amendment to appropriate additional funds. On the stone lock reach, I think it was last week, the Corps finally awarded the contract to the AE firm, which is a joint venture between Tetra Tech and Black and Beach, I believe. And Tetra Tech has done some work for WSAFCA well over a decade ago around this very facility. So I think we're excited that Tetra Tech is now under contract with the Corps, and they can get moving on that design. On the federal appropriations, I think the board is aware that the Engineering and Water Development Bill, which is sitting in Congress now for approval, contains about $42.5 million for the WSAC project. Everything's under continuing resolution right now through the end of the calendar year. It's likely that that's going to get extended past the inauguration date, and it remains to be seen whether or not these bills will remain intact or be modified under the new administration. So just going to have to keep tabs and monitor as we move forward. Under emergency preparedness, the 2024 preseason briefing was held on November 14th, which staff attended. I did not attend, but Paul did on behalf of the agency. And the only thing that I know about this year, I think we've got a La Nina year, which is supposed to be a little bit drier than usual, but we certainly are kicking it off with a wet start. And then, again, on the Regional Flood Management Plan, board approved the execution of the agreement. So once the resolution is executed, I'll package that up with the agreement, get that over to DWR, and then they'll be routing for signature. So, Chair, you should expect probably next week to receive a DocuSign for that agreement. Once that's all said and done and the agreement's executed, staff will need to come back to the board to appropriate funds into a new work order, as well as enter into a contract with a professional services contract for others to help manage the work under RFMP. So that'll either happen in December or January.
Hey, not to put, I mean, this thing's been going on for a long time, and now there's some federal planning or studies. They're going to go, where are we on this?
You mean in
Kinda-
relation to
with the,
what's the bypass project? Well, there's the state's master plan for the Yola bypass, Cashlou area, as well as the federal project.
yeah, it's doing a study assessment or whatever the term is.
Yeah, and right now, in the grand scheme of things, this is not a lot of money from DWR to continue with the planning effort, and really what they're asking the regions to do right now is to, in addition to continuing the work that we're doing, representing the various different interests in our region, is to help with the 2027 update to the Central Valley Flood Protection Plan. And that is one of its goals and objectives is to incorporate much of the work that was done by the state for the Yola Bypass Master Plan, as well as the work that's being done by the Corps for the bypass study. So that's where that's going to be the focus for the regional plan in the coming years. We still have roughly half of the amount on the current agreement with the state. We call it RFMP 3. So we're going to continue expending money under that agreement before we move to RFMP 4 funds and under this agreement. So there'll be kind of a seamless transition that will happen in the background, but we'll end up closing out that agreement and work order, and then we'll move into this particular one that you approved tonight.
How does all of this studies and planning going on in the bypass affect ultimately what our projects will be along the Deepwater Channel?
That's a good question. The hydraulic study that was done, the baseline analysis was done recently as part of the master plan that the state did. It was thought for a long time and under previous hydraulic models that moving all this water into the bypass from the expansion of the Sac Weir and from expansion of the Fremont Weir would require some form of mitigation for all those additional waters. You know, how do we manage it? Do we raise levees all the way down, or do we find some other path? And one of the options that had been looked at for a long time was possibly using the Deepwater Ship Channel as a way to convey some of those waters. And that directly affects us in our project. However, the most recent update to that hydraulic model shows that they may not need to mitigate for those additional waters, and so there's not currently an anticipation of using the ship channel for conveying those floodwaters, so no notch in that. So as it stands right now, it's our design and construction
Okay.
of those 18 miles of ship channel west levee will need to take into account the future project condition of all those waters in the bypass. So to make sure that we have the right levee height and the right analysis done. So that's the effect on our project.
Good, good.
Long story short, I guess. And then just for the board's awareness, right now, we're scheduled to have a meeting on December 19th, the week before Christmas. So we may or may not have that meeting, depending on whether or not we need to bring some items to the board. And it's possible we could do a special meeting if having one that close to Christmas is problematic for the board members, but we'll reach out in advance just to coordinate,
Okay,
either for the cancellation or scheduling of the meeting.
very good. Very good.
And that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? No, or-
No questions, but I have some director comments.
Okay. Then we'll move on to director's comments. And I'll start off. We got a special event today. Many of you already know, but Greg Fabian, our general manager, who's been with the flood program for many years now, and with the city of West Sacramento longer than that, is going to retire here in December. And both the city of West Sacramento and WSAFCA wish to honor him at this time on his retirement. And I met Greg, you know, it says there's a lot of different things here, but he's been here 30 years with the city of West Sacramento, first with public utilities, and then on to other public works and other things from there. But I first met him when I was at Ram Auto Parts. And I don't know the year, but they were having issues with the water quality and the drainage, storm drains in that area. And we might have been one of the culprits with our hot tank at our machine shop. And he came in and we had a discussion, and it worked out. We ended up using a service so we weren't directly discharging anymore, you know, from what we had been doing before, and it worked good. And then subsequently, you know, went on, sold that business and became involved here in the flood stuff. And lo and behold, we had our general manager at the time, or city flood control guy, I think was the term back then, because the RD 900 was the general manager, but Michael Bassett left us, and, you know, we were kind of in a lurch there. And, you know, what are we going to do to replace Michael, because he was doing a great job? And we kind of did an outreach. We had interviewed some people. Were you on that thing with me? Okay, it was a couple other folks from the city. And really couldn't find the right fit, and we had an interim guy from the city that was kind of taking that position. And then that moved on, and they said, we're going to have Greg Faven come in. And I said, well, I think I know the name or whatever. Anyhow, he came in, and that was really at a critical time. It was like 2012, 13, somewhere around there. And we had our full push to get federal authorization and going through. And I mean, there was something going on all the time politically and funding-wise and everything else. And Greg came in and got up to speed fast. And we were starting projects, too. I mean, we had engineers, we had all kinds of folks, and he was a steady hand from day one. And I think in some respect, where the city itself had a lot of involvement in what we were doing, when Greg came in, they kind of, somewhat just, okay, we got it handled, and let WSAFCA, or the folks that were basically doing WSAFCA, do their thing. And we got the authorization, we built some levees, we did the whole thing, and eventually, he got the title of general manager when there was some changes with the reclamation districts and the like. So it's been a good run. And, with that, West Sacramento and our flood protection has never been better. And we are working well with our federal partners and the state, and will continue to do so. But that's kind of where we're at. So, Greg, there's a proclamation here. I'll let you guys read it, and we'll put it in the public record of our meeting. Thank you very much. But,
Yep, thank you, Tom.
Erna, would you like to add?
Yeah, I just, congratulations, retirement is very exciting. I don't know what you're going to do with all your free time. If you want to come back and hang out with us, we will happily have you back. But I just want to thank you as a new council member, the hand-holding and the questions you've answered, and just the time you've spent to try to get me caught up to speed on everything. I just really, really appreciate you giving me all of that, so that I can be prepared to do this job better. And, that comment about flood protection has never been better. I'm very confident in our levee system and where we are in West Sacramento, and I want more people in the community to feel that, and it's because of your work. And so thank you for everything, and congratulations.
Thank you.
And I think Norma would probably echo the same thoughts. So I'll let you, if you have anything to say.
Yeah, just a couple of things, and I do remember that first meeting, Tom. It was either in 1994 or 1995.
Yeah.
Right around that time frame. I got to know the Ramoses over the years in a variety of different settings. And you're right, when I first came to the flood program, there was a lot going on, construction projects, trying to get our GRR completed and get the federal authorization so, we can take advantage of the federal funds to help build our project. When I first came on board, the estimate, I think, for the project was somewhere in the order of just under $500 million. We had a project authorized for $1.2 billion, and we know it's gone up ever since. So it's a huge deal, very expensive, and we really couldn't do it without the support of the board, without the support of the city, and obviously our federal and state partners. But when I first came on board, it was like drinking from a fire hose. There was so much stuff going on. And Toby Wong and I joined the program right around the same time, and he and I would often, after meetings or sometime passing the hallway, are you up to speed yet? No, not even close. Are you this yet? No, not even close. And, we would measure our success or knowledge of, bouncing off the bottom of the deep end of the swimming pool, coming up for gulps of air. And we finally got to the point where we could tread water. And then we finally got to the point where we could get out of the pool and stay dry. But that was sort of the analogy that we used. And then the last thing I'll say is I've had a variety of jobs, job titles, positions of responsibility with the city, and this position as the flood manager, and then also the title and authority granted to the flood general manager has been probably the most rewarding work that I've done in my professional career. And it's really, I feel very fortunate to both work with very talented people. You don't do this by yourself. who have made, my job successful, our program successful. Gratifying to have such a rewarding job at the sort of tail end of my career. So I'm ending on a high note, which is great. And I have a lot of confidence in those that are going to continue working after I'm gone to continue to push this program forward and provide the much needed flood protection for the city. So thank you for the kind words, and it's been my pleasure.
Good. Very good. I should also note all the consultants that we've had over the years, designed and, managing them, really haven't had many issues with that. That's your work, the rest of the staff. You mentioned Toby, those folks. I mean, the Southport project, I shouldn't say it couldn't have gone better, but really with design and everything, we had the construction issues that we worked through, but we built a hell of a levee. And we're much better off for it. Design and everything that finally ended up with, obviously it's going to test time.
Yep.
Okay. If there's nothing else here, we're adjourned.
No, I have a couple things.
Go ahead.
Can I real quick? Okay. So this is regarding some conversation we've had recently at City Council. About 2 years on City Council, the last 2 City Council meetings, we've talked more about our levees and flood protection than we have at any other City Council meetings. And I sit in a position on WSAFCA that I feel very confident in the work that we're doing because we're updated monthly. I am very confident that we reach 200-year flood protection by 2043. And it's an easy conversation for me to have with members of the public that it's been a number one priority of the city for the last 20 years. We continue to do this work. Watch a WSAFCA meeting if you'd like more information. Not all of my colleagues have that same information. Last 2 meetings, we've had a conversation about a new project, and I believe a lot of misinformation about our levee system and the work that has been going through this has gotten out into the public. And then we had a conversation last night about updating, like, are our levees in a better position than they were 20 years ago? I can absolutely wholeheartedly say yes. We asked Blake to do that update last night on our levee, put him on the spot there. At one point, we had talked about a presentation to council about our what do we call this? Our program, our federal program. I think it might be time to really have that conversation in some type. I don't know if it's a workshop. I don't know if it's a presentation, but to get the information out to the public, specifically the work that we're doing regarding our levees, because it is not minimal. It is extensive. There's billions of dollars that have gone into this. There's a ton of staff working on this, and we need to figure out how to get that information out. And so I'd like to figure out how we do that, coordinate with city manager's office, figure out when the right time to have this conversation is. But I think it does.
I'll add on to that. That's a very good idea. We're a little isolated here with our Thursday morning meetings. That we're online, but would venture to say we're probably in the single digits of people watching. So that would be good. But we did have a lot of outreach when they were our project, and the Southport levee and all of that type of stuff. Now with it being the federal project, maybe it's a little less because we're kind of assisting but not leading. But maybe one of our chores should be to continue the outreach, on behalf of WSAFCA and the city, to keep the people informed as to what the Corps is doing. And they may put something up on their website, but who's going to see that?
Even our website, I don't think, is enough. And when we come into weekends that have these storms and the news is reporting bomb cyclones and all of this drama, people get concerned. And with the lack of information, people fill in the gaps with what they've heard. And what they've heard is not always correct. I should say it's mostly correct.
Agreed. Sure that we'll put something to put together for.
Greg's like, take care of that after I retire.
Okay. That being said, thank you all for coming. We are adjourned.